We've reached the top of the hour, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by and welcome to today's Channel Focus webinar. Our topic today is how do your channel programs stack up? The latest research on programs, incentives, and trends that really matter. Our expert speaker today is Rod Bapty, president of Bapty & Company. Rod has been involved with high tech since 1984. During the 1900s, Rod was responsible for successful launch of over 20 major technology companies in the European market. In 1993, Rod launched Bapty & Company, which grew rapidly to become world's leading provider of the best practice and how-to information for channel executives in the technology and telecom industries. A popular speaker at conferences and seminars worldwide, Rod is recognized as one of the leading thinkers in the IT and telecom channels industry. All phones are in listen-only mode, and later there will be a question and answer session with instructions being given at the time. If you don't mind putting your browser at full screen, we will cover a lot of data in this presentation. You may also ask a question at any time using the chat window located in the control panel. Chat questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Today's session is being recorded and you will be provided a copy of today's materials following the call. And with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Rod. Take it away.
Hi folks, thanks very much for joining the call today. As Jackie said, we've got an awful lot of data, so if you could put the screen at full screen so you can see all of the numbers. But just before I get started on that, just as a reminder, the Channel Focus community was created in 2005. We've got over 7,000 members. We have the largest body of best practice and how-to information for people running channel programs. It's completely free, and there is a new platform which is coming very, very soon. So you'll see a number of communications from us over the next couple of months as we lead up to the launch, a very exciting launch of a new platform. So if you haven't registered, here's the registration details, and this will be in the pack that's sent out to you at the end of the presentation. So what are we talking about today? We've picked up and we've been running a survey on channel programs for the last 15 years. For today's presentation, I've picked up information obviously from the latest survey we did for 2018. I've compared it with results from 2017 and also results from 5 years ago, 2013. So there's a lot of very interesting trends being picked up in the presentation. So who completes the presentation? Well, this year, 34% of the people completing the survey were the VPs of channels, 27% directors of channels, 13% channel managers, and 26% other titles, mostly channel related. So a whole raft of different kinds of companies completing the survey, which I think gives us a really robust response in terms of what's happening, the kind of programs that we're involved in, how they're working, etc., etc., etc. And also a big span of the number of partners that the survey respondents had, running from 14% with less than 100 partners to 4% of the survey respondents with over 20,000 partners in North America. So a really good spread right across the industry. So one of the questions we ask is, looking ahead over the next 12 months, what changes, if any, do you anticipate with regards to your company's channel partner program offerings? And as you can see, 63% of us see that we'll have a net increase in the number of partner programs we offer, 7% with a decrease, and 27% with no change. The concern I have here is if our partners are struggling with an overload of information, an overload of offerings, should we actually be increasing the number of partner programs we offer them, or should we actually be looking at consolidating the programs we already have? it's very interesting to look at this chart. It may be a reflection of the fact that more and more companies are recognizing that there's a very different need for a different kind of partner program if you're cloud related versus a traditional on-premise program. So I hope that this increase is more a reflection of that rather than we're going to just create more and more partner programs for our partners. What percentage of your sales do each of the following represent? Now, if you look at this chart, it's a bit misleading because traditional on-premise partners represent 41% of the sales, but if you break that down, those traditional on-premise partners in a number of cases are also selling cloud services. So that 41% doesn't correlate directly to 41% of those sales being on-premise, which would, with these numbers, suggest that 66% were on-premise. A big chunk of that 41% these days is actually cloud sales, and we need to do a better job of breaking that number down. Which of the following do you sell to directly? Well, 74% of us sell directly to both end customers and selected channel partners other than our distribution partners. So the beautiful, we sell to distribution, distribution sells to partners, partners sell to end users. It's no longer beautifully linear like that. It's much more broken up and much more complex, with a lot of different routes to market, often bypassing things like distribution, in some cases bypassing partners and selling obviously direct to the end customer. The channel is dead, long live the channel. Well, 84% of us see sales over the next year increasing. Only 1% of us see sales decreasing, so clearly the channel is still a very, very relevant place and a very relevant thing for all of us in the industry. In fact, that 86% is up from 84%, sorry, is up from 76% last year, and so we appear to have even more confidence in the channel and what the channel can deliver this year than we did 12 months ago, and more than we did 5 years ago, where that number was 78%. In the next 12 months, 70% of us want to increase the number of channel partners we deal with. That's down from 76% last year. I think because there was a lot of need for partners to fill gaps in the portfolio in terms of reaching the customers we wanted to. Maybe some of us have already achieved that or are on the way to achieving that, which is why that number is down. But still, the vast bulk of us are actually looking to increase the number of channel partners that we deal with. However, if we look at the next slide, we're looking to do that in a very constructive way. 60% of us are looking to recruit selected partners to address key market sectors. 25% of us are going to focus on our current partner base to help them sell more effectively. That's down slightly from 2017. Only 8% of us are actually looking for a significant increase in recruitment. So I think we're being much more selective in the kind of types of partners we recruit, and also in the ways we're setting about finding those partners and understanding how they fit into our overall partner base today. Interestingly, 48% of us think the amount that we're going to spend on Co-op and MDF in 2018 over 2017 will increase. Only 3% of us see it decreasing, and 46% of us thinking it will stay approximately the same. If you look at the change over the last 5 years, it would seem to indicate that Co-op and MDF is increasing steadily over that period of time. So we're moving to a general feeling that we are going to have more funds available for Co-op and MDF in 2018 over 2017. So interestingly, that doesn't quite gel with this slide when we look at what we're actually providing our partners. And so until you get to the big amounts, and I think this is what's changed the previous slide's numbers. So if I go back, remember that 48% saying increase, 3% saying decrease, and 46% approximately the same. If you look at the big area, the 1, 2, 3% area, 21% of us offering 1% co-op and MDF, 28% offering 2%, and 11% offering 3%. That 2% is down. So last year, 2017, 33% of the respondents offered 2% co-op. This year it's down to 28%, and the 1% has dropped from 25 to 21%. The big increase, and I think we need to do some work in explaining this, is that it appears a huge increase in the number of us actually offering more than 5%, 5 to 10% in terms of co-op and MDF. So there appear to be a significant number of companies that have dramatically increased the amount of co-op and MDF that they're actually offering their partners. Approximately what percentage of your potential co-op and MDF funds remain unclaimed? Well, that's improved dramatically over the last 5 years. 0% remaining unclaimed has moved from 31 to 44%. I don't think the difference there between 2017 and 2018 is significant, but it does show in 44% of cases, all of the co-op and MDF funds are being spent. 1 to 2% unclaimed has dropped from 18% of us having 1 to 2% unclaimed to 13%, and in 3 to 5% unclaimed, that's dropped from 16% to 7%. We still have a number of us. If you look at the 10% plus, we still have 24% of us who have more than 10% of our co-op and MDF funds remaining unspent. So clearly there's still a lot of work to do there, but it has significantly improved over the last 5 years. One of the things we get asked all the time is what percentage of companies actually have these programs? And this is a very, very interesting set of statistics. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time here on these. So in terms of co-op and MDF programs, pretty much remained the same. Those numbers are probably not big enough to show any significant shift. Around 86% of us have a co-op or MDF program. Deal registration climbed significantly from 2013 to 2017, but has now slipped back. And I wonder if we saw in 2017 a peak in the percentage of companies actually offering deal registration, and it will be very, very interesting to see that deal reg number for 2019 and whether it continues to fall or whether it's stabilized. Virtually all of us have a partner portal. 96% of us, that's climbed steadily since 2013. So virtually everyone has a partner portal of one kind or another. The one thing that's very interesting is we've seen a significant decline in the number of companies with partner-to-partner programs, i.e. programs that enable partners to work with one another. One of the interesting things we see in another side of the business, which is the cloud services side, is more and more partners actually collaborating together. So I wonder if more of us should be looking at developing partner-to-partner programs, and that decrease actually worries me because it's contrary to what the partners themselves are experiencing, where more and more of them are working together. So I think that's an area we need to look at quite carefully. Partner community programs seem to have stabilized, with about 68% of us offering partner community programs, and more this year than last year, 83% of us providing leads to our partners. So summarize this slide. I mean, virtually everyone has a partner portal. Deal registration, have we peaked? Is that in decline? Should we be looking more carefully at partner-to-partner programs? And how do we build those into what we're doing overall? The other thing we ask about with all these programs is how satisfied are you with the programs being offered? And we ask everyone to rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. And we seem to be reasonably unhappy pretty much across the board. If you look out of 5, the average rating for our deal registration programs and our partner portals, which are the highest ratings, are still only 3.2 out of 5. We're happier with them than we were 5 years ago, but 3.2 out of 5 is still not a high score. One of the questions we have to ask, is that because we're very discerning in terms of what we want to offer? Or is it genuinely we think there's a lot of room for improvement? One of the really disappointing things on this slide is if we ask, if we rate the quality of the leads we provide to our partners, we're at 2.6 out of 5. So we don't feel we're offering our partners the kind of quality of leads that we would really like to. And that's the lowest score on this chart. It'd be very interesting to ask the partners the same question and see how they view the quality of leads that you're providing for them and see whether their views mirror the ones here. Partner community programs we seem to be happier with than we were 5 years ago. Partner-to-partner programs, less happy than 5 years ago. And Co-op and MDF programs, pretty much the same. If we look at a whole raft of other programs, what percentage of us are providing them? So programs to help your partners migrate to the cloud, 67% are offering those programs, and I think that reflects the importance of the cloud. That's up from 60% 5 years ago. A steady increase in the number of programs to help increase your partner's profitability, and I think that's a recognition of how important that is. A significant drop year on year in the number of us who actually have partner councils. I'm not sure why that is, frankly, but clearly that number is very significant, climbing 5 years ago from 78% to 81% and now dropping to 69%. Be interesting to explore that further and understand why that drop is taking place. Are there other means that we're using, i.e. online surveys, better use of the partner portals, etc., to gain partner feedback, and therefore we feel the partner councils are not as important as they were 5 years ago? I'm candidly not sure. Programs to help partners develop specialization in key vertical markets. More and more partners are becoming specialized. I think we're recognizing this. We're recognizing how important this is to us. And basically, we're seeing a significant increase in the number of companies offering those kinds of programs. Partner sales training programs, well, 20% of us 5 years ago didn't actually have one. We're now up to 98%, almost 100% of us have partner sales training as opposed to partner technical training programs. 50% of us now have programs to help partners recruit the right staff. I know from talking to a lot of partners, these programs are very, very highly valued by the partners themselves. One of the struggles they're having with the changes that are happening in the industry is recruiting the right staff to help them take advantage of those changes. And I think there's a real opportunity for a lot of companies to build those kind of programs in and demonstrate the value that they bring to their partners. 69% of us offering programs to help partners become more effective social media marketers, and 82% offering programs to help partners sell to the business unit manager. And I think that the specialization programs go hand in hand in terms of recognizing a lot of where the industry is headed at the moment, with more and more people involved in the decision on the products and more non-technical people involved in that decision as well. So I think we're recognizing that and generally bringing in the programs to help people, to help our partners achieve that. Again, effectiveness. How effective do we think our programs are? Well, the highest ranking at 3.3 is partner council. So it's interesting that whilst there seems to be a significant drop in the number of us who have partner councils, our feeling is that they are among, from an effectiveness point of view, among the most effective, along with the partner sales training programs. The least effective, we feel, of the programs we're offering are programs to help your partners recruit the right staff and programs to help our partners become more effective social media marketers. So clearly a lot of work needs to be done in those two areas. We don't feel where we're providing a program, it's not nearly as effective as we would like it to be, though you can see there's a significant rise in how effective we think the social media program actually happens to be. And I apologize because there is a huge amount of information on this chart. So to summarize, in terms of what we feel are the most effective programs, or how effective they are on a scale of 1 to 5, we seem to think our partner councils are pretty good. Our partner sales training programs are pretty good. And if you look at the least effective programs to help our partners recruit the right staff, and we're not happy, though it is better than it was a year ago, with programs to help our partners become more effective social media marketers. Again, like the previous marks, I wonder if we are very, very discerning, and I have to wonder if we asked our partners the same question, whether they'd come up with a higher rating or a lower rating than we give those programs. So looking at the cloud, what best describes your company's cloud strategy? As you'd expect, a steady increase in companies dedicated to the cloud, now 26%, a steady increase in companies that currently have extensive cloud offerings, 30% of the people responding to the survey. Some cloud offerings decreasing, I think, because people have made a decision on where they're headed, and a lot of that difference between the 38 and 27% basically moving from some cloud offerings to extensive cloud offerings or being dedicated to the cloud. So I don't think there are any surprises on this chart, but it does illustrate the march to the cloud that we're all taking. If you have a cloud offering available through your channel, approximately what percentage of cloud sales are represented by new partners versus your traditional partners? A really interesting question here. And as you can see, a decline in cloud sales being offered by traditional partners, not huge, but down from 71 to 69%, but 31% overall of the cloud sales from people who responded to the survey being represented by new born in the cloud partners. So there's clearly a very significant percentage of sales, over 30%, being delivered by born in the cloud partners. So a lot of companies going out and very actively trying to find and recruit these partners. They're clearly proving to be a more and more effective route to market. If you've moved from on-premise to offering cloud products, so these are only companies, these are not born in the cloud companies, these are companies that have been around for a while, they've had on-premise offerings, they've moved to cloud products, and we asked, what percentage of your traditional partners have successfully migrated to the cloud? And we had a whole raft of different answers across the board, but the overall answer is really quite shocking. It's actually 34%. So if we look at companies who've come from an on-premise and are now offering cloud products, 66% of their partners have not successfully migrated to the cloud. So I think this indicates that there is a massive shift going on in terms of the channel, in terms of the partners and who's there, and a lot of partners have not made that transition, and a huge percentage of those probably never will make the transition. So we need to look at, as an industry, at what we do with those partners and how we treat them moving forward. But that for me was a shocking result from the survey. In terms of payment options, as far as the cloud's concerned, which ones do you offer your channel partners? Well, you'll see a steady increase over the last 5 years. We are absolutely moving to the point where we are paying partners in perpetuity as long as the customer remains with us. So that number has increased significantly in the last 5 years. It's increased significantly in 2018 over 2017. It seems to be very, very much the way things are headed. We've seen a substantial drop in the number of companies who are paying for a fixed period of time. And I think that's a reflection on the fact that if you're paying a partner for a fixed period of time, you're in severe danger at the end of that period of the partner actually going in and selling an alternate product to that customer. Paid on a reducing scale, now down around 10%. I don't think the 1% is significant enough. It's probably pretty steady. And paid on a one-time finder's fee, dropping dramatically over the last 5 years. So I think what this slide illustrates is we are moving to the point where if a partner goes in and sells some kind of recurring revenue, we are going to pay them as long as the customer remains with us. If customers make a cloud sale, what percentage do your partners earn on average? So the numbers in the pie chart are the percentage of partners that get paid that amount. So for example, if you look at that first number, 13%, top right, 13% of us pay less than 10% to our partners. 21% pay our partners 10 to 15% on a cloud sale. 20% pay 15 to 20%. 17% pay 20 to 25%. And 18% pay 25 to 30%. So if you look at that, there's a huge spread between 10 and 30% that we're paying our partners on a cloud sale. It would look that we're getting to an average of around 20% that's being paid across the board on a cloud sale to our partners. But there's a huge spread. I expect over the next 12 to 24 months that spread is going to reduce, and we're going to focus more and more on the circa 20%, 25% number in terms of what we're paying our partners for a cloud sale. Which of the following billing options do you offer your partners? The biggest single increase here overall was the number of companies that are billing the customer and paying the partner a commission. More and more partners are accepting the fact that the vendor is going to bill the customer and they're going to be cut a check every month for their share, their commission share of a cloud sale. Also seeing an increase in the number of companies that bill the partner and the partner bills the customer. And these are not exclusive. These don't add up to 100% because many companies offer multiple different options. Seeing a decrease in the number of companies with an option where the distributor bills the customer and the partner pays a commission. And we didn't ask previously, should have asked, how many people have a wholesale model? That's 13% of the companies who answered the survey, and 28% of us have a referral model, which would be giving the partner an option of a one-time fee for referring a customer to us. But definitely there's a significant shift at this end of the spectrum in terms of what we're offering our partners. I think that'll settle down over the next 3 or 4 years, and it'll be interesting to see how those trends develop over that period of time. What do you see as the primary role of distribution in 2 years' time? We're pretty much all over the map here, but basically one of the shocks for me on this chart was the fact that we're seeing more and more of us thinking the distributor is simply going to provide traditional distribution. That's a massive leap from 7 to 15% over the last 12 months. Distributor going to be increasingly service orientated, is dropping. An aggregator of cloud products and services also dropping here. Providing cloud services and support, there's an increase there. Logistics and financing, and this would match with traditional distribution. We're seeing a climb there to a traditional position for distribution. Providing marketing, training, and other support services for the resellers, that's dropped from 15 to 11%, and other role the same. I think the overall message from this chart is we're not convinced that distribution is moving to a new role. We're seeing less of us feeling they're moving to a service-orientated model, less of us thinking they can be an aggregator of cloud products and services, and more of us thinking they're purely traditional distribution. This is not a good, I would not be very happy with this chart if I was a distributor, because I think it shows our confidence in where distribution is headed is not very strong. And it's actually not as strong as it was 12 months ago. So again, it'll be very interesting to see the overall feeling about distribution in 12 months' time. So plans with regard to IoT. I think we're beginning to see people solidifying where they think they are with regard to IoT. Basically, 26% don't have an IoT offering, significant increase on 12 months ago. I think it's because people are recognizing where IoT is and what's actually happening. 11% planning to have an IoT offering in the next 12 months, 29% limited IoT offerings, 17% having a range of IoT offerings. And I think what this reflects is a lot of companies sort of looking at IoT, those that have really found it to be an important part of the program for them moving forward, beginning to consolidate in that space. Other companies saying, IoT, maybe that's not a direction that I'm headed in just at this moment in time. And again, we're at the very start, so I think it'll be very interesting to see how these numbers change, particularly interesting to see what the results are from the survey in 2019. So I think if we look to summarize what's come out of this, there are a number of very interesting trends. I think we're beginning to, in the cloud space, we're beginning to absolutely understand how we're going to remunerate our partners and the kind of programs that we need in place. I think there's a shocking result in terms of the number of partner companies, traditional partner companies who've successfully migrated to the cloud. That 34% is a really, really shocking number. I think also we're becoming a little more disillusioned with distribution and distribution's ability to move into the newer areas that perhaps a number of us would like to see them moving into, and that's reflected. And I think we're probably incredibly discerning where our programs are concerned, and we're not rating them anything like as highly as one might expect. Those average effectiveness marks were actually quite low, but that's been a trend ever since we've completed the survey, and I've never quite got to grips as to whether that's the fact we're very discerning about what we should be providing, or whether genuinely we think there is a huge amount of room for improvement. We'll be sending the survey to you so you can study it in more detail. There is a huge amount of numbers and charts here, but it should help you understand what the industry is doing, where the industry is headed, and what our feelings are on a whole raft of issues. So on that, I'm going to hand it over for any questions.
Thank you, Rod. We will now open for questions. The first question is, what are you seeing in the cloud master agent model, and how are vendors handling that with their channel programs, in and separate? What do the channel partners want?
I think the challenge that the master agents are having is they're not able to recruit the for example, the SaaS partners and other partners in the market space. If you talk to a lot of the partners, we have a series of roadshows around the US, the cloud services roadshows, and if you talk to the partners there, most of them don't even know what a master agent is, yet these are the people actively selling cloud products and services today. So I think there's just a significant gap there. In the same way that increasingly we're seeing channel partners in those meetings who've never, particularly the born in the cloud partners, who've never bought from distribution and don't see any reason why they should do so. Sorry, Jackie, there were a couple of other elements to that question.
What do the partners want, possibly?
I think what partners are looking for, increasingly, they're looking for a great relationship with the vendor. They're looking for help in terms of, we're seeing an increasing specialization amongst the partners, and they're looking to work with vendors who can help them with that specialization. I think more and more partners are recognizing in the cloud that being a generalist is not very helpful and it's not very profitable. The more they can specialize, either by particular technologies, maybe it's security, or by particular areas. You know, I'm entrenched in legal, I'm entrenched in medical, etc. The more successful they're likely to be, and the more profitable, very importantly, they're likely to be.
And do you survey actual programs in terms of legal benefits, requirements, and leveling, etc.?
I think that's a great, we don't, I think it's a great idea, and it's something we should probably look at.
All righty, and then the next question is, partners follow customers, I guess. If customers pay for an on-prem, why move to the cloud?
I think there's going to be a significant proportion of customers that do have on-prem and continue to have on-prem, either in total or partially. I think the danger is if you accept that they're on-prem and they're going to continue to be on-prem, and your partner does the same thing, a partner who's offering a cloud service can come in through the back door, often through the business unit manager, and before you know where you are, you've actually lost the customer because the customer's made that decision to move to the cloud, and your partner is not sufficiently cloud savvy, and as a result, you've lost the business too, even if you have a cloud offering.
And do you do this type of research in APAC and EMEA, or is it just in North America?
At the moment, it's just in North America, but we are looking to do the same kind of research in the other markets as well.
And how many responses did you get from this data?
We feel we get, our focus is on the top 1,000 companies in the IT and telecom industry. Once we reach over 100 in terms of responses, we feel, and we've checked, we're getting a statistically significant result, and we got substantially over 100 responses to the survey.
Also, if 66% partners not moving to the cloud, maybe it shows cloud is much more hype than hoped, and big money is still on the prem, and they're there to stay for quite a while.
I think there's going to be a mix of on-prem and cloud for a significant period of time, possibly forever. And where that number is going to end up, I'm not sure. I do think there are a significant number of lifestyle partners where the move to the cloud is just beyond them. And effectively, I talk to partners every week where they're just running their business down. They're slowly but surely reducing the number of staff they've got. They see the number of clients they have reducing. They're at an age, their children don't want to get involved in the business, and so they're completely content so long as it adds more and more money to their retirement pot to continue to run that way. So I think you have to be very careful with these numbers. There are also thousands of new partners and new partner types emerging. There are thousands of CPA firms, marketing agencies, etc., who are actively selling technology today. We have a group we deal with in New York. They're a CPA firm. They built a technology practice, and that technology practice has gone from 0 to $50 million a year in 4 years. So I think the fact that 66% of partners are not making the change doesn't mean the overall partner base is going to reduce by 66%. I do think it's going to reduce, but I think we are seeing tens of thousands, not thousands, but tens of thousands of new partners with different kinds of offerings beginning to emerge.
And what trends are seen in the referral model? A slide showed 28% companies using the program.
I think what we're seeing is partners recognizing that they have strengths and weaknesses. I think they have customers, and they're seeing opportunities within the customer where they can fulfill a section of that customer's needs, but they can't fulfill another section. And so they've identified an opportunity, and they want to make money out of that opportunity, but it's not within their skill set, and so they're more than happy to pass that opportunity on as a referral and make money from that. And unfortunately, we haven't asked the question previously, but my sense is from talking to people, and this is straw poll stuff, not the survey stuff, is the number of companies offering a referral program is steadily increasing year on year. It'll be very interesting to see what that number is in 2019.
And can you give some examples of how some groups are helping VARs specialize and what they are doing specifically?
Yeah, they're providing detailed information on key sectors. So, for example, they might be providing information on the legal sector and saying, if you're going to sell into the legal sector, here are the key needs. Here's how this sector works. Here's how this sector is using technology. Here are some of the questions that you're going to be asked. Here are some of the people that you're going to be coming across in these firms. And here are the drivers that these people have. So they're providing, helping the partners understand what it takes to get into that market, what the people in that market are actually looking for, the nature of the business in that market, and often on top of that, providing help to recruit expertise in that marketplace.
On the change of distribution role in the last year, all were down, but if I recall, traditionally distribution was up significantly. Can you comment on that?
As I said when I was displaying the slide, I think that slide is, if I was in distribution, I'd be quite disturbed. Essentially what it's showing is that we seem to be losing confidence in distribution being able to move to the new market models, and we seem to be, on reflection, saying, hey, they're good at what they do and that's where they're going to be.
All righty, and there are just a couple more. Looks like the large percentage of cloud revenue is coming from traditional resellers. I believe almost 70%. What does that mean for SP programs? Would you suggest to still have a separate SP program with separate benefits and requirements?
I think there are 34% of traditional partners have moved to the cloud and have substantively moved to the cloud. So there's clearly, it's about identifying those people in our partner portfolio who've made the change, who've embraced it, and who understand what it's all about. And then in addition to that, adding on the partners we need, 31% of sales, as you'll note from another chart, being provided by born in the cloud partners, i.e. partners that didn't exist before the cloud, don't know anything but the cloud. And I think it's a balance between those two that we're looking for. And so, yeah, both of them, once they've migrated to the cloud, are looking for the same program. So I think it's not about old partners versus new partners. It's about having a cloud program and a non-cloud program, so you're addressing the needs of partners in the on-premise and in the cloud model.
And we have time for one last question, and it's what kind of innovations are taking place in the channel model?
I think we're seeing more and more business partners emerging. So CPA firms, marketing agencies, medical reps becoming very powerful in certain sectors of the channel. I think we're seeing some very interesting acquisitions and mergers going on. Friend of mine ran a significant Salesforce partner. That partner was actually bought by Publicis, an advertising agency. Why? Because Publicis recognized that they have the ear of the chief marketing officer. They have the marketing understanding, but they needed the technical expertise. The more interesting thing was when I talked to him about who his competitors were, he said Accenture. I asked why, and he said, well, Publicis have the ear of the chief marketing officer, but not the technical expertise, which is why they're buying companies like us. Accenture have the technical expertise, but don't have the ear of the chief marketing officer. Accenture don't have the ear of the chief marketing officer, and so they are buying marketing agencies. So I think we've got more and more people recognizing that business expertise is the core, I think this is the biggest struggle for traditional partners, to move away from, hey, it's all about a technical sale, to, oops, I'm talking to the chief financial officer, the chief marketing officer, the chief supply chain officer, whoever it happens to be, and they're not technical, they're interested in a business discussion. And so I think the partners that are succeeding are those that are able to both provide technical expertise, but also have a serious business discussion with the customer.
All righty. Well, that wraps up our questions today. Thank you, Rod, for offering your time and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending. Please take a few minutes to fill out our post-event survey. Your input is very important to us. And this concludes today's conference. You may now disconnect.
Thank you all very, very much indeed.